Hello and welcome to probably the most wonderful time of the year. My name is Johnny, and if you are new to our community, you are very welcome. We are very pleased to connect with you and to engage with you. And if you have been part of our community for longer than I have been alive, then we love you too, and we are very excited to connect with you as well. It is December, and so that can mean a few things for us, but we really want to zone in and be really specific about some Christmas things this year, and that will either excite you very much or that will make you groan and feel uncomfortable. And I hope whichever way you go with that, whichever end of the scale that you stick with it and you hang around for this series. It's only 4 weeks, the 4 weeks of December. We want to theme something really deliberately and specifically to help us engage with what is happening around us. You might feel it's happening to us, but it's something that I think there is value in us engaging with and thinking about and learning from. So we are going to spend the next 4 weeks, this being week 1, thinking about Christmas dinner. Maybe not literally, but we're going to use that as a picture. We're going to use that as a way for us to engage with some thoughts and with some ideas around this time of year. And so we are going to think about 4 things. We are going to think about invitation, we're going to think about preparation, we're going to think about feeding people, and then we're going to think about clearing up. And that's all through this lens and this idea of Christmas dinner, whether you cook it, whether you consume it, whether you avoid it, whether you have your own traditions and ideas, whether this is maybe the first Christmas for some of us that we're thinking about cooking duties, or we're thinking about what time we eat, or we're thinking about what we want to eat, that it's worth us engaging with. I think as followers of Jesus, there are some things that we can get a little bit lumpy about, and I think Christmas time can be one of them. I think it is brilliant that the God that we know and that we love and that we serve has given us the privilege of being a part of his plan of redemption. And that includes festivals and activities that maybe on first pass we feel that don't connect with us too much, but in times where we are looking at short days and long hours of darkness, and we are looking for light, and we are looking for hope, and we are looking to be reminded of better things to come, there in my mind is no better place to look than Jesus. And it makes complete sense for us to be a part of the plan of redemption, to get a hold of some of these ideas and repurpose them for the kingdom of God. I think we are part of a long heritage and successful tradition of people who know and love and follow Jesus, who are not afraid to repurpose and redeem things in the wider world and use them to tell the story of Jesus. And what better opportunity to do that than with Christmas time. And so that's what we want to do. And I want to help us think very quickly about invitation. Part of what is exciting about these 4 videos is that you're going to hear less from me, and there are people from our community, both Peel and Ramsey, who are going to share some of their thoughts on some questions around the themes and the topics. So you will see them over the next 4 weeks, and thank you to everybody that was involved in making that possible, in filming and contribution and editing and all of the other moving parts that make all of this happen. So I hope you enjoy that, but really quickly, it's my privilege to introduce the thoughts and the ideas to us. And I want to do a few things. First of all, I want to recommend a resource to you. I want to recommend this book. As you can see, it's called A Meal with Jesus, and it's by Tim Chester. Some of you will have read it, and that's great. And if you have the capacity, I'd encourage you to reread it. If you've never read it, then I think this is really going to help us in this series, in this idea. It's really going to help us to connect with some of the ideas. It's going to help us as a community to thinking about how we do the things that we do. This has been really important to me in some of our thinking and planning and preparing for some of the way that we work. It's not the Bible, it references the Bible a lot, so let's not get carried away, but I think this is going to be a really helpful resource for us. So I encourage you to connect with that. A Meal with Jesus by Tim Chester. That's going to be a really helpful resource for us in this time. And I want to encourage you, if you are kind of looking at the busyness of Christmas, and let's be honest, the expense of Christmas, if another thing feels out of reach, then don't panic. Get in touch with us, get in contact with us, and we would love to resource you with that. We want to help you out with that, so don't feel that there's any barrier to entry with that. We have enough resources shared in the community that we can help each other out with that, and then we can share some of those resources together. I want to read some quotes for you to kind of help us engage with this idea of meal and why it's so significant. Tim Chester himself has said, "Meals embody God's grace and so give form to community and mission. We just cannot get away from meals." And Carolyn Steele has said, few acts are more expressive of companionship than the shared meal. Someone with whom we share food is likely to be our friend or well on the way to becoming one. There's something really important about a shared time, and so get a picture in your head. It's going to help you of Christmas dinner, and maybe push past some of your experience, but hold that image of a shared space of interaction with people. Meals matter. Meals are significant. Meals are where the real stuff of community happens, and the reality of meals take us past an idea of our theology or our doctrine, and they make them real. They attach real hope to them. They attach real life to them. They're not the limits of an ideology, but they are the flesh and blood reality of people around a table, of sharing with people, of being dependent on others to produce and to provide, of being connected with each other, of speaking to people and sharing time and investment of time with people. Meals are significant, and Jesus uses meals in really significant and special ways, and the Gospel of Luke is going to help us to see and understand that. And so I want to encourage you to read Luke chapter 7 this week, more specifically in Luke chapter 7 from verse 34 all the way through to verse 50. That I would encourage you to engage with that encounter, with what happens, and it starts with Jesus declaring that the Son of Man, that's Jesus referring to himself, the Son of Man, this is my paraphrase, has come to eat and to drink with people. And that was problematic for people in sharing that space with Jesus. And then we go on to encounter this story of Jesus being invited to somebody's house and engaging in a meal, and a woman arrives who was not invited. And she goes on to perform in a way that the host was very uncomfortable with, and was expecting Jesus to have a similar reaction to her, but actually Jesus says that her sins are forgiven, and knowing the totality of who she is, that she is forgiven and she's loved and she is set free, and she responds to Jesus from the reality of that. And really quickly, I want to help us think about invitation. Often this time of year, you're going to get bombarded with invitations to concerts and to plays and to pantomimes if you're really unlucky, and to dinners and to spaces and to occasions and to light switch-ons and to eat Christmas pies and cake and all the fun stuff with people, and that's great, and we love that, and we can become a bit overwhelmed with invitation. And I think we can get, as followers of Jesus, we can get a bit pious about it, and we can get a little bit consumed with, well, keep Christ in Christmas, and actually the real story is about Jesus. And yes, it absolutely is. And we look for things to bring people to, and we look for places to take them, and we look for something or somewhere to invite people. And I want to remind us that the invitation always has been and always will be an invitation to Jesus. We see in Luke chapter 7 in these verses from 34 to 50 that this woman, by reputation in the wider city, is known by Jesus and turns up at essentially a dinner that she wasn't invited to. And so she wasn't supposed to be there, but she understands, and we see a picture of the invitation is Jesus. The invitation is always Jesus, and to be with him will make you do things that make other people uncomfortable, and will cause you to behave in ways that you realize that you have been forgiven and set free, and your life has been changed, and you are whole and you are new, and the only appropriate thing that you can do is to want to be with him. And a shared meal in real life, as it were. Remember, the sharing of a meal takes the limits of our ideas and our ideology, and it puts flesh and bones on them, and it makes them real. And it's also a foretaste of forever. That a meal with others is a picture of forever. It's a meal with Jesus, of sharing and of being together and being taught and encouraged and contributing and involved. And so think about in this season and in this time, are you looking for something and somewhere to invite people to, or someone to invite people to? And that might be the corniest thing you've heard since you opened a Christmas cracker last year, but I hope that there is something that touches you in that in all of the good things that are going on, and in all of the brilliance that is happening. And I'm sat with a Christmas tree and with Father Christmas on my shirt, and as questionable stylistically as some of those things are. They are things that can be repurposed and redeemed to invite people to someone. The goal is not to have a litany of things to invite people to, but there is someone that we invite people to. So in the business of your invitations, in all of the brilliance of the season, in all of the things that are going on, using the picture of Christmas dinner as we are thinking about what is coming with 3 weeks to go and what we're looking forward to and what that means and the significance and the space of that, maybe we are the people who gate crash a party by grace that we haven't been invited to. And maybe sometimes our response to Jesus is going to make people uncomfortable, but because of who he is, and because of what he has done in us, that it is worth that risk to invite people to someone, not to somewhere or to something, but to someone. So I want to encourage you to speak to Jesus and to speak to other people about speaking to Jesus. If you don't know what that looks like, then reach out. We want to connect with you. We want to help you with that. And if you do know what that looks like, but you're not feeling the bravest you've ever felt, then again, reach out. We want to help you to do that. We want to connect with you to do that. I've been thinking in the season's festivities about a Yule log. Very strange, I know. Maybe it's dessert is on my mind. But there's a picture in that, I think, for us that this pagan symbol, let's not beat around the bush, that's what it is, used literally. So you need to park Delia Smith and her chocolate Yule log to one side, and you need to think about an actual log that you'd set fire to. As part of that belief system was that in the 12 darkest, longest days that the sun stood still. And so as a sign of hope and something to focus on and get people through of the promise of the sun coming back, people would use a Yule log figuratively and literally and set fire to it and let it burn in the deepest, darkest moments of winter. And it's a good time to celebrate and have a feast. That picture, that image can be redeemed, I believe, and repurposed to tell people about Jesus, in that the sun never stood still, in that he actually came to us, put on flesh, dwelt amongst us, and the invitation is Jesus. And that there is a way that we can be set free, made whole, made new, and in what can feel like a very isolating time, a very difficult time, especially this year. It's going to be a Christmas like none other. And with Jesus, that's okay, that we need the reality of an invitation to community, a foretaste of forever around a shared experience, a meal together. So who are you inviting as Jesus has invited you to experience his life-changing grace, acceptance, love, hope, joy, and peace? I hope you enjoy some thoughts from some people in our community. Have a brilliant week. We'll see you soon.
Stormzy, Beyonce, and Judge Rinder.
Dave Grohl. Ariana Grande.
I think for me, family is really important to Christmas, so I don't think I'd invite just anyone. I think I'd probably invite my Nanny Ashdown, because I think it'd be really important to my mum. I think she'd really like to see Nanny Ashdown just like one last time for Christmas.
That's a nice way of looking at it. I never got to meet my dad's parents, so that would be quite a nice setting to meet them.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
I think that will have to be my dad, because I never really got to spend Christmas with him as a grown-up, so I would thoroughly want to have him with me at the table joining me for Christmas, because we can also have some exciting conversations and for me to understand what he makes of Christmas as well as a grown-up. I missed out on that, so that's one person who I would love to have at Christmas with me. So.
Mine was probably Avril Lavigne. Mine would be Jojo Siwa.
I gave this one a lot of thought, and I decided it would be Chris Martin from Coldplay. I figured he would be interesting enough and funny enough that it would be good company, and he could also sing Christmas lights to us all. So, yeah.
Jesus. Julie Andrews.
Or Seth Rogen. Good choice, good choice. Elvis, obviously, for Christmas carols around the dinner table.
I'm very interested in having conversations with people to try and understand what they make of Christmas. So chances are I'll have someone who brings something a bit different to the table, so we can have a good conversations, have a good laugh, but also just figure out what they understand of Christmas and see how that marries up with my understanding of Christmas.
I think people you get on with, obviously. Sometimes people who maybe are missing family this year, haven't got people to be, or find it a little bit difficult.
I think we choose like-minded people who kind of understand where we're at with things in life and kind of in faith and all the other weird bits of our lives. People who could just understand that and can kind of fit into it a bit, or be challenged by it and might enjoy that as well.
Normally people who will bring the turkey.
The Christmas dinner table, just however many people can fit around it, which is probably only 6, so that's an easy one. That's all I have to say. I guess when you invite someone to your table, it's somebody that you want to get to know better. So sometimes it might be somebody that you maybe you've only just met but you want to get to know better, or sometimes it might be the people that you're closest to, your family, the people that you live with. But you still always, when you get around that table, you're always going to be getting to know each other better. You're going to be asking questions about your day, about your life, about what you've enjoyed about the day, what you're excited about, all of those things. So I guess the process of choosing who to invite to your table would be somebody that you want to invite into a relationship with and improve your relationship with.
I think about family and who I would like to bring. I think about people who haven't came yet.
Everyone's welcome. Reading the Bible even on days that you don't want to, even on bad days, and then the good days are bonuses then, I suppose. Yeah, I think especially it's like the busiest time of year, so I think it sounds boring, but even just planning, sometimes penciling it in to make sure you're committed to read your Bible, pray, spend time with God, pray together, because otherwise before you know it the week's gone and you haven't really had that time. So I think reading the Bible and setting that time aside is helpful and important.
I think community is always my answer. Just encouragement from others, hearing about others' journeys with God, other people's stories. I take huge encouragement from that. The kids have been really on the prayer thing recently. Every night that we go to say goodnight to them, they always prompt us to pray with them, and that's been really helpful for us in discipling them, but also, you know, us taking that extra time to spend in prayer and with God.
Just spending extra time with him in prayer is really making a big difference for me at the minute.
I think the more intentional way that we've been doing community outside of normal rhythms recently has been quite helpful for us, hasn't it? Not just, it's the way you spend time with friends, but you spend time with friends in faith in a more intentional manner. So it's not, oh, I'm going to see them at this normal rhythm. It's, no, I need to step out of my rhythm and go find them and find out how they're doing. And we've been getting a lot of support that way, but also I think a lot of opportunities to serve. They just seem more present now than they used to.
A bit more natural as well. You know, you ask someone how they're doing and you talk about it because you've got time, you know, maybe you're eating dinner and then you ask them and you can kind of respond because it's conversation, it's not just polite. You know,
it's not like
quick, just like Sunday morning, like, oh, hey, how are you doing? Yeah, grand, thanks.
Answer.
Yeah, it's like, no, actually, I'm really struggling and I want help with this. It's a bit more normal and it natural. Feels a bit better.
Yeah. We pray every night. We read the Bible.
What is helping me to respond? I think at the moment there's so many things that are going on in the world. And as we approach Christmas, there are a lot of issues that I believe only Christ can help us solve those issues. And so as I look at where I am personally and spiritually, I think that there is nowhere else I can go, but my hope is found in Him. And so conversations with people, talking about Christmas and the meaning of that and so on, all that comes together and helps me reinforce, I think, the importance of who Christ is in my life. And because of that, I think that literally everything around me right now is helping me on my journey.
It's like Jesus' birthday, so we invite people around, and like the carols, like his singing happy birthday to him.
Oh, that's an interesting one. So I think trying to, everyone is talking about Christmas already. So this time is about Christmas. Whether people know the true meaning of Christmas or not, it is on people's minds. So as we go through this period, as people engage with it, I think it's easier to have people or spend time with people discussing this when people are already talking about Christmas, whether they understand it or not. And so for me, I take that as an opportunity to be able to look at the true meaning of Christmas, because everyone else is talking about Christmas. Whether it's just from a perspective of celebration, eating mince pies and having, wine and all that kind of stuff, or really focusing in on what Christmas really, really means. And I think that conversation going on right now all over the world in itself makes it easier for me to have that conversation with people on what Christmas is and what it means.
Jesus is obviously the reason for Christmas, so there's a lot more conversation about Christmas at this time of year, and when I'm just having natural conversations with people, I can just tell them what I believe about Christmas and what I believe is the centre point and the reason for why we celebrate.
I think it's easier at Christmas. I think people are, it's about Jesus, and even though there's other stuff going on, I think people are more willing and open to talk about it. Even if it's the starting point is the nativity story, it can open it up into other things. So I think it's a good time of year to be trying to talk to people.
Yeah, I agree. And people are often, or they can be quite lonely, can't they?
Yeah.
So then they know there's a community that wouldn't leave people on their own, or that they don't have to be feeling like on their own or sad, or
there's a lot of ways to show love through Christmas.
Yeah, without making people uncomfortable, or just doing it, in a nice normal way, or even just having people for food, or
I think in the festive season, people are just way more open to it. People want to feel festive and get that festive buzz, and are happy to just kind of go to whatever gives them that. So I think it's really easy to invite people to carol concerts and Christmas quizzes that are in your church setting, because they're just like, they just want that festive thing, don't they? So if we can provide it, then that's all good.
And that, it can sound a bit shallow, can't it? But I don't think it's necessarily shallow, in that it's just one of those times of year where tradition is maybe a bit more constructive, rather than at times tradition can really hold us back, can't it? But when it comes to around December time, all of a sudden it's something that people appreciate about what we do the rest of the year. And it's a window into the way that we do live our lives, I think, if it's done properly, which I think we do a decent job of.
We try.
I think the community carol singing outside the courthouse, because so many people come along, it's really festive. I love a community event, and I get stomach on it.
It's just such an easy win, isn't it? Everybody's already thinking about, Christmas is just, it's all about Jesus, isn't it? And whilst it's easy to get distracted by all of the other things, the Christmas shopping and lights and all of those really nice things. You can't escape that that's what it is, and nobody's fighting you on it. So it's a nice easy win. You can always talk to people about Jesus at Christmas.